and welcome to Research Storyteller, the go-to source to help you become the go-to source for your community. I'm Callie Kent, and this is a 5-minute CPD video. It's a bit exciting today because I'm actually doing one of my articles for our CPD video. It's an article called Can I Join In? It's a multiple case study investigation of play performance, the generalisation for children with ASD from a dyad, 2 people, to a triad, 3 people. And I did it with all my supervisors from my PhD, Rainey Cordia, Annette Jewston, Sarah Wilkes-Gillen and Anita Bundy. And thank you very much for all your support. So, what's the problem? Many children with autism have difficulty playing with peers. This is not new information, and we created an effective intervention for them to improve their play with one other child in a pair. It was a 10-week intervention. We used a natural play environment in the clinic, and we included both video, peer, and therapist modelling as part of the intervention components. The next step after we did that was to assess if these improvements could generalise to a small group and if play performance could be improved in the small group environment. 4 of the 5 children with autism generalised their play performance from the dyad to the triad social environment. However, what we find was that the triad intervention did not demonstrate improvements in play performance. Now, it was a small sample, but that was interesting. What was also interesting is that the play performance scores for the children with autism and their typically developing peers were variable and demonstrated changes in their play pattern from the dyad to the triad. It means then that the children who were playing together in the dyad were tracking together nicely and influencing each other's scores, but when you introduce that second child, it became more dynamic. And families and clinicians may want to consider the inclusion of peers in intervention sessions to form those small groups to get some practice as a graded intervention approach. It can be considered a stepping stone to the more socially complex environments of a larger group or what you would typically see on the school playground. So that pattern I was talking about of consistent play performances across time points within the dyads changed in the triads. And one possible explanation for that is the interaction may have shifted from the dyad, where the child with autism has a strong influence on the play that is performed and the play performance of their typically developing peer because it is so socially interactive. And where it's the triad, the 2 typically developing peers have a greater influence on each other's play performance. So it's easier then for the child with autism to not have to work as hard. It's also easier for the typically developing peers not to have to work as hard. So some possible explanations why this change in interaction patterns. The environment has become more socially demanding and the child with autism needs to demonstrate and maintain a strong play performance to continue to support that play interaction with both of their typically developing peers. Or the typically developing peers may have less motivation to continue to put in effort to engage the child with autism where there is an alternative playmate in the same playroom who is more responsive and engaging. So what does this mean for OTs? It's important to consider what's next when creating intervention plans and goals with families and children, and you want to connect the gains made in the clinic with real-world situations, especially when you're looking at dynamic social interactions. I think it's important for us to question if you need a different approach or if you need to increase dosage. Do you need more time? Because we only had 4 sessions with this new child within the triad, I do think that a future study could look at increasing that dosage and more opportunities to practice in that more socially complex environment. So next steps for you as part of your CPD, please go and read the article. I'll provide a link at the end. Review your own practices around generalisation of skills and see if there might be some areas for review or improvement. Check in with your team if you're working with other people, if they're implementing interventions in a similar way, if they're getting better outcomes. Look at your own fidelity and connect with your community, with those current and previous clients, your referral partners and any other interested parties that might want to work with you to improve social play skills. Also, please feel free to share on social media and let your referral partners know that you do this type of work, that you can help them with this area. Before you go, if you're interested in more bite-sized curated pieces of research in your inbox and on your feed, join the Research Storyteller crew on email. It's a link in the bio, and follow along on social media. I'm on Instagram at Mama's Writing and Facebook Research Storyteller. Here's the link for the article. Happy reading. I'll see you next time.